Hi again folks, how you all doing? Welcome to the third edition of In the Shed, where I show you some of the other locomotives that I've been working on lately. So let's see what I've been up to. First up is this very nice Hornby Class 50. This was sent to me by Tony to look into the lighting. He said that the forward lights were flickering on and off at the rear, and he also suspected there was a pickup issue as only one bogie seemed to be picking up current. Initially, I intended for this to feature in a full repair request video, but on testing it, I could not get the lights to flicker on camera. I saw them flickering on when running a few times, just doing test runs, but every time I tried filming it, it would not display the problem. Um, this model was just camera shy. I decided just to look at this and just film it for an in the shed video, as I really wanted to concentrate on the model and not be distracted by having to commentate, as I did it. It's quite a complex model, so yeah, I had to keep my mind on what I was doing. The body on this came off relatively easily. It was just clipped on as usual, but inside it was clearly a pretty complex affair. Probably one of the most complex looking models I've worked on. Big printed circuit board, lots of little wires routed here and there, and very restricted access to the bogies. Kind of typical of a modern diesel, but yeah, not for the faint-hearted. The fan on this actually turns via this little drive belt mechanism, which is a nice touch. Thankfully, it wasn't a big deal to remove it. Fortunately, I discovered that a black wire from the pickups on the bogie had become disconnected from the PCB. I reconnected the wire, and that resolved the lack of pickup from the bogie. And on further test runs, I never saw the forward lights flickering on at the rear again. So I think the problem must have just been down to the lack of pickup on the bogie due to that loose wire. A very nice model though. I really do like modern diesels. They may be extremely fiddly and complex, but they do run exceptionally well, and they're nice and heavy and superbly detailed. So yeah, I like them a lot. Michael sent me this Hornby A3 Gainsborough. He said it kept stopping and wouldn't run properly at all. On testing, I found the locomotive seemed to run on the straight okay, but stopped on the curves. On examination, I found that the rear bogie wheels were the flanged ones, which you don't really want on a running model. So I swapped them for a new set of flangeless ones to allow the rear of the locomotive to swing back and forward as required. Uh, Also, on the tender, someone had been adding some coal to the front of the tender and spilt a load of glue everywhere. It had run down and covered the contact plate for the drawbar underneath. I cleaned all that up and also made sure that the two prongs on the drawbar from the locomotive weren't causing any possible short. You need to make sure these things do not touch anything else other than the contact plate, especially when the locomotive goes around corners. Otherwise, you'll get short circuits and intermittent running. And another issue that the wires to the drawbar had been routed incorrectly and were restricting the movement of the drawbar. If the drawbar doesn't swing back and forward cleanly, it can stiffen the whole locomotive up going round a corner. So there were a number of little issues there, just interfering with the running of this locomotive, especially around the corners. But with them all sorted out and a service, the locomotive ran fine. A chap called Martin sent me this Hornby Class 25 to check over and service. I got a wee bit of a surprise when I removed the body shell and was presented with a big clear plastic box and a load of wires for directional lighting. Also, a driver seemed to have passed out due to the fumes from the filth in the cab. A straightforward Ringfield service, a bit of a clean up inside and out, refit the driver, and the locomotive runs really nicely. Phil got in touch with me and asked if I'd have a look at a wee job lot of old locomotives he'd inherited from a relative. There was a Triang Gente, a Britannia, Class 101 DMU and an old 00R1. Generally speaking, I prefer to look at one locomotive at a time from anyone, but it really depends on what's involved, and a job lot of old locomotives that aren't boxed are easy to package up into a reasonable sized parcel. It's new delicate models and big boxes that I prefer to deal with one at a time. So I started work on the Gente, which was in a bit of a mess internally, pins stuck to the magnet, fluff and gunk all over the shop. But otherwise it just needed a good service and remagnetised really. The body was actually in okay condition. I then started on the R1, which was kind of the opposite. It was in a bit of a sorry state on the outside, as these old R1s usually are, but internally, all it really needed was a service and a remagnetise. I ordered up a white metal replacement chimney top and some buffers, and I'm in the process of repairing the damage to the body with some metal epoxy. So in a future video, I'll let you see how all that turns out, along with the 101 DMU and the Britannia. John sent me this old Bachmann Class A4 Dominion of New Zealand, which had suffered a drop. Front bogie had come off and fallen to bits, rear bogie axle broken, drive wheel axles all broken, and also the left motion bracket was broken, as well as the front buffers. Fortunately, I was able to get spares for everything from Bachmann, and with a bit of fiddling, got the locomotive back together and running absolutely fine. If there's one sort of model you really don't want to suffer from a gravitational impact, it's a split chassis model. But there you go, it's all been sorted. So there we are, that's some of the other locomotives I've been working on lately. In the next edition we'll see how I got on with the R1 and the DMU and the Britannia, and I'm sure there'll be some other casualties to show you. Meantime, catch you later folks.